Hi, I'm Arun and I'm a partner with ZS.
Hi, I'm Apoorva and I'm a partner with ZS.
Today is a special day for recording this episode because we have some special guests in the recording with us. Who joined us today, Apoorva?
Arun, I've done a few of these with you, and it's the first time I'm genuinely nervous.
Why?
Why? Because my 15-year-old daughter, who had heard some of these podcasts, and since we were recording in our Gurgaon office today, she really wanted to see it. So she's come directly from school, and she's watching us right here somewhere. And I'm like, all right, say the right thing, say it nicely, otherwise you'll get some feedback today.
All right. So, welcome to your daughter, and let's look forward to an amazing episode and no retakes, okay, Apoorva?
Yeah.
All right. So, Apoorva, you've participated in many programs within ZS. What about giving back to the community outside of ZS? Have you done a few things there?
Yeah, I think one thing that definitely comes to my mind, Arun, is a shadowing program that I did with an organization called Vedika Scholarship Program. It's a women 18 months program, management institute for women only. And one of the young girls had shadowed me for about 2 months at ZSSR, in the office. And the kind of things that she talks about and where she comes, the confidence that she's built being in this program, the genuine everyday life experiences and learning that she's had, it is amazing to hear her as well as a lot of learning from me and a way to give back in some way to the to whoever we influence.
It sounds like an amazing program overall.
It is absolutely. I believe I learned about me a lot as well when she talked about different things. So yes.
So, who's our guest today?
Yeah. So our guest today is economist, a leader, a policy influencer, an entrepreneur, and somebody we could call disruptive thinker as well. She started her career in the Economist Intelligence Unit, worked in the media, and then co-founded 9.9, and currently has been working and co-founded Vedika Scholarship Program. And today I'd like to welcome Anuradha Das Mathur. Thank you for coming with us, Anuradha.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
All right. So, Anuradha, I said this, right? Economist, media, right? Education, and of course, entrepreneurship. What do you think are similarity, differences, and where does your heart lie?
Good question. I think when people sort of describe me, I'm always fumbling to see who the real me is, because it's all happens so organically. People plan their lives and careers. I have to tell you, and this may not be the scripted answer that people look for, but I actually never really had a plan for 5 years out. I've always done, I think I'm very privileged. I've always done what I've loved to do. And that love has always led to something else that I've discovered that I love as much, sometimes more. And I think at different points in time, it's been different things. I think for the first, I don't know, 15 years of my life, it was really about doing the best of what I did, like doing whatever you did in the best possible manner. Um, I think as I've grown older, there's no question that the larger purpose, the larger meaning behind what you're doing sort of starts to take much more of your heart. So currently, and I think, now I'm sort of at that stage in my life where I can say it with some surety about the future, that I think Vedika, which is really about making the world a different place for women. And I also have another company which is in the elder care space. It's called Samarth. I co founded it with a friend. And we provide elder care services at home. So I think communities that have been underserved, there's gaps, as opposed to trying and delivering products and services for which you have to create a market. Um, Focusing on things that are really a need in society, in the country, in the world.
So, what is the genesis of Vedika for you?
Purva, it's such a, it's a, part like I feel pretty ashamed, and partly like one of the biggest things that works for me in the world today is the birth of Vedika. So I was an absolute tomboy growing up. I have two brothers, so that sort of necessitates you being a tomboy. But also, I have a mom who has no time for fuss. She's a bureaucrat. And, I grew up watching a mother who could drive a jeep into a riot ridden area. They are taught how to ride a horse, shoot a rifle. But also, I grew up in Bhopal, small town. So anything that was in the house was really made. Like there were no stores that did nice cakes or breads or clothes. So, she cooked really nicely. Everything I wore till I was 16 or 15 years of age was stitched and embroidered and whatever by her. She was clearly a very big favorite in her in laws, for her parents, with friends. I mean, she really did do it all. Now, as a 1, 2, 3, 5-year-old, when you grow up seeing a woman do it all, what is the chance that you grow up thinking women have to make choices? Right? So I had a very like easy worldview where women did everything and life was good. And I come from a family where I think being helpful is a dharma. It's not a matter of choice whether you help or you don't help. If you can help or if somebody needs help, you just help. So, as a part of that way of being, I did a lot of stuff in the early years of work, maybe by the time I was getting into my 30s, where I would just do things. I hadn't realized that it was specifically for a lot of my women friends who had already by their 30s either started to drop out of the workforce or wanted flexibility or whatever. Anyway, in this time, I get a invitation, sort of get called to do this women leaders program. I didn't see myself as a leader. I certainly didn't see myself as a woman leader. But I think that program in the US really exposed me to how different the world of work is for women compared to men. And I say this now with a lot of thought, but I was gutted with guilt, just gutted with guilt that you take a privilege and then you use it to be blind. I feel like it's like saying because I'm not poor, there's no poverty in the world, but that's just much more obvious. So I think this program in the US taught me how to use the gender lens. And that was, I think, the first kernel and the birth of Vedika, which was that in this lifetime, I have to pay my privilege forward.
Mentorship. I'd love to ask you, your thoughts on mentors, allies. How important in this ecosystem, for the young ladies in the Vedika program.
Yeah. I think it's one of the defining characters of the program, and I think it's one of the defining uh, exposures for young people everywhere and not so young people too. And I'll go to a fundamental reason for that before I sort of talk a little bit more about it. Our country, people have a disproportionate share of wallet for their children's education. If we look around us and the people who are in our offices, in our lives, most people are in roles and jobs that are several levels ahead of where their parents were. So, exposure, guidance, appropriate counsel, which some of us could just get from our homes, is completely non existent. And I think allyship as well, because the things that we are talking about, inspiration for women, for their lives ahead, and I think inspiration for young people, nothing can come from just one person, either yourself or from any one person to depend on. I think wholesome, meaningful lives just come from a potpourri of people and experiences. So they say it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village for anyone.
So I want to ask you your opinions, Apoorva. You just heard Anuradha. What do you think? Should allyship be quiet? Does it, and mentorship, should it be quiet? Does it make a difference if it's a male ally or female ally? Or how do you?
I think, in my opinion, when I look at it, it's when you start young, and Anuradha talked about this, is, our percentage of women at the joining is about 40%, 45%, so very quite equal in terms of when the women join the workforce, right? But as you grow up, and you start to take on leadership positions, middle management, that number really does taper down, right? And I do believe that there are fewer women in leadership positions to be able to influence. So I do, there is a part of me which feels that if there is championship, in the allyship, and that needs to be a little bit more vocal. And that if it comes in from leaders, and there are only men leaders, then I think having them join this conversation would really help. And I think, Arun, personally, if I feel that, this is one of those things that if you hadn't joined me, I would have felt like I'm doing this for women by women. So having a voice really helps in, to bring in that perspective of a male ally.
Kudos to you. Yeah, no, thank you.
No, but-
I think it's great. I mean, there's no question that it becomes a winner, and the fight becomes less tiresome with allyship and mentorship from men.
I have an interesting question. Okay, I'm calling the question interesting myself. So, in your unofficial toolkit, okay, you talk about many experiences, etc. If you're having a bad day, what is that one thing that you swear by, and something that you've also taught yourself differently from what your earlier years might be? See, I said interesting.
I think my go-to is nature. There's something in nature that tells you things happen the way they have to. There's a flood, there's an earthquake, and then there's a morning after. So from a very young age, I've actually drawn a lot of just faith, belief, resilience, power, strength, whatever, patience, just from observing nature. So I think that is in the middle of pretty much everything. And I'm going to give you one lighthearted answer. I mean, it probably just shows, but food is
It's
is
not
a-
lighthearted at all.
We were talking to
It
foodies here.
really, I mean, you need light stuff to deal with tough stuff. And I think foods are really, and if it's with, good food with people or whatever, I think it really is a almost foolproof recipe to get the mojo back.
So, disruptive thinking. I think you've shown from your days at the Economist Intelligence Unit to all the way through to Samarth, you have the ability to be truly a disruptive thinker, change the status quo in some meaningful way. What has helped you be that disruptive thinker? Is it self-belief? Is there something else that's motivating you? So how would you think about that?
I don't think of myself as a disruptive thinker at all. But you realize how you might appear, and you have to then become open to it. So literally 5 days ago, I was in a car with a very young colleague of mine. And she said that, you keep saying that you're like, you go with the flow and things like that, but you're pretty radical. And I was like, the word just doesn't sit for me with my personality type, because I've never been rebellious. I've never had like a big fight with the world. I wasn't one of those kids who was, constantly like saying no at home. So I've never thought of myself like that, Arun. But my young colleague actually pushed me to reflect. And so it's a very recent sort of
Discovery.
acknowledgement. And you're saying this again, so there must be something going on. But I was telling her that I feel like, yes, I can probably be considered radical in many ways. But I think it comes from the fact that I really have never been particularly worried about what the world thinks. And I think it's a really big gift. From the time I was a kid, comparisons, neither good nor bad. If somebody tells me you're great, really it's my inner compass. And if somebody is trying to really trash me, I mean, if there is something to be trashed about, I will feel trashed. But I think things that when people want to trash you, when your inner voice says something else, doesn't move me. And I think that's probably what has allowed me to be just different. But now when I think back and you're saying this, and I'll tell you that it just comes from one, such a deep belief in the fact that there are some things that are just the right thing to do.
Resilience. Resilience has sort of made its way into our vocabulary, I would say, in the last 5 to 10 years, especially with Carol Dweck's book on growth mindset. People talk about resilience. What do you think? And Apoorva, you should answer too. What do you think? Is it overrated concept,
No, no,
underrated
no, 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 no.
concept,
It's a
right on the
very
money?
no, no, no. It's very underrated. But I want to say that on that journey, we've actually moved from resilience to anti-fragile. Resilience means you bounce back. Anti-fragile means you bounce back higher, bigger, better, stronger. So at Vedika, we talk a lot about having moved from the importance of resilience to the power of anti-fragility. But of course, resilience is really at the base level, no doubt.
Is it born or is it taught? Is it a habit? Is it a quality that I must be born with, or is it something that I can be taught? Can I be taught to be more resilient?
I mean, I would say yes to pretty much everything because I think in the last 30 years, the one thing that I have had to change my mind about is that pretty much everything can be learned. But, Seligman will tell you that you can learn being optimistic as well. So I think everything can be learned.
What do you think?
I think it can be learned, right? I mean, sure, there is a part of it what you observe around you, but I think life doesn't go as what you've planned. And I think just experiencing it, living it, teaches you resilience to get better, higher, and anti fragile. That's a new word for today.
I think it's like a wonder drug. Realizing how much more you can do than you were showed. And it's one of the most favorite things. Again, we say it at Vedika all the time, but I've started to see that if you can't see it, you can't be it. So many young women are growing up with a role model who does only one thing. Right? Yeah. So you haven't seen it. But once you start doing it, and I do want to, because you talked about jobs, Arun, the core philosophy that I have come to believe for women is the power of financial independence. Money is the first line of defense. We are all brought up to think money is a bad thing to talk about. The relationship that young women, older women, women have with money is really unfortunate. We are all trying to change it now. There's a lot of new conversation about the relationship with money. It's the first line of defense. But to me, it's your first tool to dignity. Everything else is secondary. If you're born on this planet, the least you deserve is a life of dignity. So it boils down to, what you can feel, what you can do, who you can be. If you have a little bit of money of your own, if you have more, that's great. But something to call your own, I think, is just fundamental to anything for women in the world. Your professional, leaders, all of that follows.
I have a question. Your life is anything but boring. So you'll be looking forward to it. But what is it that you fiercely protect in your life that keeps you who you are and keeps you going?
I think the only thing that I'm fiercely protective about as I'm growing older is my time and energy. Otherwise, I like to think of myself as a reasonably detached person, like material stuff and all. But really that you want to be doing things and with people who are really worth your energy and worth your time. I really, yeah. I mean, it's hard for someone like me who found it very hard to say no as a younger person. But as I'm getting older, it's my new superpower.
How
Sort of
did you
learning how
develop
to
it?
say no. Just learning how to say no a little bit. And I'll tell you one or two fun things. So, you said something about self-belief. I mean, Arun, it's starting. I think it started to be born in my mid-40s. It's a very recent phenomena. I grew up with very little self-esteem. And I think, for young women, it would be great, or for young people, to hear this. That doesn't matter if you feel like that when you're young. As you grow older, it just gets better and better and better. So for me to feel like I feel so much more confident and so much more worthy today than I did as a younger person is just great. And I think there's the
Wait,
lesson
I
there for.
find that so hard to swallow. I'll tell you why. Okay, so here you are. You go to Lady Shriram College, clearly one of the elite colleges, elite institutions. I know Apoorva went there as well too. She wants me to say that. I think you worked for a prestigious publication, leading one of its intelligence units here. You've been in the limelight, spotlight. You've done lots of cool things. So, and those were all in your younger days. So, how can you not have self belief and do those jobs well? And
You
you were
know,
a leader in college too, I'm sure,
yeah, but Arun,
and a woman leader.
it just always felt like luck. Because there's so many, I'll tell you, 7, 8 years ago, I went on this program to Yale. It's the Yale World Fellows program. I had no idea it was as prestigious as it was when I got in. It's 16 people in the world. Till today, nothing can convince me that I deserve to be one of 16 of anything on this planet. So I think when you attribute a lot of things in your life to luck, serendipity, whatever it is, I think it does. I think it does good things too, because you don't take the tough stuff too badly either, right? It wasn't because I'm a bad person, but I'll tell you, this also took some time coming. So I'm going to spend a little bit because I think it may resonate with people. Till I was about, I don't know, maybe 40, 41, 42. If somebody didn't like me, it was my problem because, of course, there was something wrong with me. If I didn't like something in somebody, that was also my problem because I wasn't able to look beyond that edge to discover the beauty of this human being. This was my way of being in the world. I can say it with a little humor now because the liberation, I remember at 42, it is really frivolous, but somebody unfriended me. They had a fight and then they unfriended me on Facebook. This was a good friend. And it was only, I was like at 41 or 42, so I was like, oh my God, I don't care. The liberation that comes with not taking on personally everything that goes around you. I think it's a really big journey for women, for many women. The world's divided even amongst women, those who are born with the self-assuredness of saying, I'll take the world on, and the rest of us who really take a long time to find and claim our voice. It really is. I mean, I can imagine it being hard to believe, but I swear to you that I was a person who, for the sake of harmony, would just let everything go. And there's one little thing that I want to say again to young people, that if you ask me honestly today, do I feel great that for the sake of harmony, there were so many things that I didn't voice, both at work and in my personal life? If somebody had taught me early on how to disagree harmoniously, how to tell somebody what you didn't like or what you needed or what you wanted without disrupting harmony, I might have lived differently. So I've taken a long time because today I think I can disagree harmoniously. I can say something that I feel like saying without disrupting or creating unpleasantness. And I think that skill, because women are brought up with the onus of harmony on their shoulders. So I think that skill of being able to say what you need to say
Courageous
without
conversations.
or the skill of having difficult conversations, I think that's been, again, one of the really great liberating skills for me in the last decade.
Arun, you still can't unfriend me. I will take it personally.
Good news for you. I'm not on Facebook. All right. But let me, as you reflect, and you've engaged with many leaders. You talked about this Yale program. I know you went with the US State Department, and that was a small cohort of 30 plus people as well, too. And you've observed, and you yourself looks like have been on a journey and grown as a leader. What makes a great leader today, tomorrow? What are some 3 attributes, 3 qualities?
I mean, I can say what they would be, what I would aspire towards, and what I respect and admire in other leaders, because I think different leadership styles appeal to different people. So I can't speak for a generic leader, but to me, and again, this has come with a lot of reflection, Arun, but I think authenticity scores above most other things. I think the lack of it just shows up. It's just that people won't call out successful people on their lack of it. So I think authenticity is really up there for me. I think courage is up there for me. And, I'm a big fan of Maya Angelou, who says that without courage, you can't live any other value consistently. So there's authenticity, there's courage, and there's kindness. So for me, those three together really set it apart. And the reason I say authenticity is very personal because, and I'm going to tell you a personal story. You get married, you've sworn to be with this person through thick and thin. It's a commitment. Now, most of us really value commitment, sticking to a commitment that you made. For me, at a certain juncture in my life, it became between authenticity and commitment. So should I stay committed but be inauthentic? Or should I be authentic and live with the guilt of walking away from a commitment? And I chose authenticity.
And that was courageous too.
And kind in the long run.
And kind too.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
All right. This was an amazing conversation. I think we covered a wide mind mandate. I think if I were to summarize, I don't know where I would start, but I think we had a 3S framework that Dr. Gopinath had introduced us to, and you just added a couple of things to it. She talked about serendipity, synchronicity, and synergy. And I think you added soft and strong. So I think I love that. I think the way that you talked about your experiences, I think it's very clear that all of us go through whatever it is that self-doubt, we find ourselves in different stages of our life doing different things, and it's okay. I think you just made it okay. But you got to figure out how you're going to climb out of that and what you need to do for that. And we love the concept of resilience to anti-fragile. I think that's very powerful. I think we'll find a way to work it in, Apoorva, in more things that we do. And I think the self-belief is a gender-neutral concept, I think, and I think that's a very good lesson for all our listeners. It doesn't come naturally. If it doesn't come naturally, if you're blessed and you're born with it, good for you. If it didn't come naturally, you can work on it, and it's one of those things that you can overcome, just like resilience is, and so work towards it.
Yeah, I mean, for all the young people out there, there is something to be said about living every extra quarter, because as your data points increase, it gives you reason to have more self-belief because, you dealt with something and came out. But I think what I really want to say to people is that if you're tired, you should rest, don't quit. I mean, my only, the like a broken record, the thing that I constantly say to young women, even more than young men, but to everybody, is that if you're tired, just rest, but just don't quit, because that's the toughest thing to recover from.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and it was such a pleasure listening to you and learning from you.
No, thank you. Real pleasure to be here, and I hope people just enjoy the conversation.
Absolutely.
And good luck to everybody who's listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.